Hello and welcome to this News 9 special. We are in fact trying to look at the top stories of the hour and how it is in fact panning out today. And most interestingly enough, after the BRICS summit, we have the Prime Minister in Greece. Now, this is interesting part of it. It is that after almost 40 years, you have a prime ministerial visit to that country. How bad it is that we neglected Greece for the last 40 years, and now it looks like India is trying to get into an engagement deep enough to ensure that the strategic ties as well as bilateral ties with Greece is taken up. The Prime Minister was also given a rousing reception at the Athens airport as he touched down and met with some of the Greek leaders who had come to receive him. Now, to discuss more about this, in the studio we have with me my colleague Pankaj Mishra, who joins us. Pankaj, how important is this Greek visit? I mean, we talk about Greek odysseys, we've heard about this, but India took 40 years to have the first level prime ministerial visit, such a long delay, and now it looks like Greece is appealing.
Well, definitely. See, I mean, in this fast-changing, world order, it is difficult as of now to stay aloof from even the remotest part of the country, I would say, part of the world, I would say. And as far as Greece is concerned, then there are two crucial things that the Prime Minister has achieved with his visit after 40 years by any head of the state from India. First one is he met the diaspora there. Indian diaspora in Greece is not that big as compared to say a neighboring countries, European countries, or for that matter, that in the West or down south in Africa also, where the Prime Minister was coming from. So it is important to also assuage and lend, a helping hand and an ear to the diaspora there. That's the first achievement. Secondly, when it comes to, touching the European tip, I would say Greece is the point. And this particular visit is not just limited to interaction with the Greek President Katrina, for that matter, or the Greek leadership, but also European state heads are also there in order to, have a toe-to-toe with the Prime Minister, which tells you that even a short trip, a day-long trip, Varghese, still it assumes a lot of significance when it comes to the visit by a high-profile personality like Indian Prime Minister. And needless to say, flying from one continent to other, down south in South Africa, the southernmost tip of African continent, to further on top at the entry point of Europe. I think Prime Minister Modi, it's a, if you look at it, the kind of trip he is making, obviously it's not a straight way that he was coming back to India, that's why he stopped by. It is a deliberate trip there, which is most welcome, and also coming after 40 years, 4 decades by any Indian Prime Minister. I think Greece would be laying the red carpet for, and as is, there you see him.
You can see the visuals, yes, Greece is giving out the red carpet for India. Also, interestingly enough, recently we have seen how Turkey, Greece's neighbor and rival, has been making statements against India. It looks like India is now also saying that we will tie up with your rivals if you continue with this.
Yes, see, I mean, as far as Greece and Turkey are concerned, they are two nations who have, they share borders, and they are open borders. I have traveled from Istanbul to a smaller, lesser known town in Greece, which obviously was a very smooth affair. And obviously, needless to say that both Turkey and Greece are a conjoined, twins or sisters, I would say, because they are joined with the landmass. And obviously, for Turkey to have shown teeth to India or have towed a different line altogether, Varghese, last year when there was an unfortunate earthquake not last year, I think it was this year only in the beginning, India had sent, a relief and rescue team from here to Turkey, and that was India became the first country to reach there. No matter, there are better ties between Turkey and Pakistan. Geographically also, Pakistan is much closer to Turkey, yet India, giving stitch in time, flew two, planes with relief material and doctors from the army and the civilian corps. And then that was the time when the view about India and Turkey completely changed. That was admitted by President Erdogan.
So you have been in that part of the world. Is there actually a Turkish-Greek rivalry there, or is it a historical thing that still keeps lingering?
Well, I would say, since the time that Greece faced that meltdown and the financial crisis dawned upon Greece, it was on the behest of Turkey that most of the European countries agreed for a bailout. And remember, the Grexit, as they would call it, Greece had chosen that it would or would not stay in the European Union, given the fact if it gets the money or not. At that point of time, Turkey, which is not part of, at least on paper, part of European Union, because it pans on two different continents. Half of Turkey is on Asian side, half of Turkey is on the European side. So at that point of time, there were some friction that were seen, but at the end of the day, what we saw was that Greek had its fair share of pie, and it was given the bailout that it was calling for. Now, Greek society on the whole is particularly different, Varghese, and it is very difficult for us as citizens of a totally different country and different culture also. And secondly, the economic setup of countries, developing countries like India, or for that matter other European countries, is totally different. So Greek particularly has a compensation package, or what we call here the money that you get after retirement. The retirement benefits they start from the age of 40, especially if you are a government teacher, if you are a musician, if you are any sort of art practitioner, if you are a literature scholar. So these artistic field members plus the government servants, they get donations, they get money after retirement, which starts from the age of 40 itself, 40 and 45. So Greece cannot ill afford, it can ill afford as of now to pull that. Otherwise, there will be people out on the streets. So to run its country, to run its affairs, it needs money. And that's why that bailout option that came.
So basically, with the wherever the Prime Minister has gone, he's been speaking about how India is a $5 trillion economy. So he's going to in fact showcase it to Greeks, also saying that take leverage of India's growth as well.
I would definitely say this is one sphere that Prime Minister Modi has explored, and it needs no mention that for 4 decades, if we were not paying attention to that for any good reason, I might say. But this time around, this trans-European approach that this particular government has taken, it is going to reap benefits, and there is no possible loss as of now when it comes to having solid ties with Greece. Remember, you and I would always hear our friends, family members saying that they went for vacation to Greece, then they entered Europe, and then went through all that Schengen link. But having said that, Greece in itself allows and possesses a lot of potential for expats to come and work or start their industry. So now this is something, and I would also add here, for the benefit of our viewers, those who plan to maybe visit Greece, this particular belt of Greece and the Turkish side, especially which is on the European continent, they don't have much Indian cuisines and Indian culture. Not many families, you would say. In Istanbul, I was told that there are roughly 30 odd Indian families living. So there was only one Indian restaurant. Now we have seen at different places also, and this is what Indianness does to you. We have seen Indian restaurants in remotest parts of the world. I mean, be it New Zealand, which is called the end of the earth, or for that matter, Australia obviously has a large diaspora. In African countries also, especially West African countries, you have Indian eateries. This particular belt I found an exception to, and those who aspire to actually move on to Greece and maybe open a restaurant, I would say, I mean, this particular visit at least puts faces to the names. And it's a good step, I would say.
faces to the names. But again, it looks like, India's Foreign Office discovered Greece after 40 years. There seems to have been a big, long kind of a gap when it comes to it. Well, we have the Greek ambassador giving a reaction on it. Let's in fact listen into what he had to say.
Yes, we would like to be the gateway to Europe for India, and we are assisted to that by our geographical position, by our ports that can be really the gateways for the Indian products to come into the European territory and the European markets. But it's not only this, there could be a lot of other kinds of cooperation, I mean, with Indian investments in Greece, but also of Greek investments in India. In fact, we are very dissimilar as regards the size as countries, societies and economies. But on the other hand, the fact also is that we are very complementary the one to the other. That is, for instance, we have with our geographic position what India really needs in order to import its products to the European Union. And also we have complementarities and similarities in many issues. For instance, I would mention the technology for the green transition and for renewable energy.
Well, that was the reaction coming in from the Greeks on the visit and how they plan to have a deeper relationship with India and in fact become the gateway to Europe for India. So there is a lot of bonhomie out there. But moving on from the Prime Minister's visit to Greece, let's in fact move closer home. Well, the scion of the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi was at a trip in Ladakh, and in Ladakh he raised up a very interesting topic, and that topic is about saying that the Chinese are actually occupying Indian territory and that the Prime Minister was lying. This is the statement that he made over there, and of course a series of statements coming in from there. A big political speech in Ladakh where he said that he was sorry that he couldn't visit Ladakh during the Bharat Jodo Yatra as well, but now he has decided to visit Ladakh because there was time that was there, and during the Bharat Jodo Yatra there was heavy snowfall which stopped him from visiting Ladakh. So Rahul Gandhi has been in Ladakh for quite some time. He was at the Kargil War Memorial as well. He visited the Kargil War Memorial, Kargil being the spot where Pakistani intruders tried to take on some of the key points on the Himalayan ranges which were under Indian control, and of course the Indian army ensuring that those peaks remain with the country and also recapturing them from these intruders from Pakistan. Well, Pankaj, Rahul's visit to Ladakh, initially it was supposed to have been a short visit, but later he extended it, and then you have this statement coming in from him saying that the Chinese are in possession of Indian territory and that the Prime Minister was lying. But the Congress party has been hit many times by the BJP, saying that could you just explain your relationship with the Communist Party of China? And again, Rahul seems to be pushing that point over there, trying to put the Prime Minister onto a map. But see, we just saw the BRICS summit. The Chinese President Xi was there. There were rumors of talks also happening between them. What could have been the reasons for it? But then, at all this, it looks like he's just taken the opportune time of that BRICS summit to attack the Prime Minister.
Well, yes. As far as this political commentary, I would say, is concerned, it is not in any way a geo or commentary of a geo strategic importance. For Rahul Gandhi to train his guns on Prime Minister, at least at this point of time, is simply reflective of the fact that he is in that area. He wants to play through the gallery, riding high on the sentiments of the gathering who might be attending his meetings and his schedule there. To say that Prime Minister Modi is lying when it comes to whether China occupied an inch of Ladakh or not, Rahul Gandhi clearly says that yes, Prime Minister Modi is lying. The fact remains that as of now, Government of India has not conceded to it, not accepted it, and that's what remains the fact, because These matters obviously pertain to national security, pertain to military aspect of the governance, and they remain on paper. If that is the case, if that has been accepted by the top levels of the military commanders who actually man those posts, then that is reported and Ministry of Defense takes note of it. So for any state head, or prime minister to say that this hasn't happened, you have to take it on the face value of it, because there is nothing, that can be done otherwise to corroborate it or to deny it. So, and there is no reason why a prime minister or any head of state would lie in these terms. That's what my understanding is. For Rahul Gandhi, obviously, this is a topic that, as I said, garners a lot of emotions, attention also. So obviously, to make such fleeting comments, we have seen several rebuttals also coming in from the government, when it comes to, as you mentioned, his association with the Communist Party of China, Rahul's association. Also, at times it is being projected that the Gandhi family particularly is, is in close proximity with the Chinese business groups and other powerful entities there. So all these things once again put together, it loses somehow the essence on which primarily the debate started, whether China has occupied any inch or not. So it keeps doing rounds, that's it. It does gather some heat, some momentum, and after that it fizzles out.
Well, let's in fact listen to what exactly Rahul Gandhi said at that speech. We'll get a perspective on that particular aspect as well.
दूसरे नेता हैं, वो अपनी मन की बात करते हैं। मैंने सोचा मैं आपकी मन की बात सुनूं। एक बात तो बिल्कुल साफ है कि जो गांधी जी की विचारधारा है, कांग्रेस पार्टी की विचारधारा है, वो लद्दाख के खून में और डीएनए में है। लद्दाख एक स्ट्रेटेजिक जगह है और यहां आने पर, खासतौर से जब मैं पैंगोंग लेक में था, तो एक बात बिल्कुल साफ है कि चाइना ने हिंदुस्तान की जमीन ली है। हजारों किलोमीटर जमीन हिंदुस्तान की चाइना ने हमसे छीनी है। और दुख की बात है कि हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री ने ऑपोजिशन की मीटिंग में कहा कि हिंदुस्तान का 1 इंच किसी ने नहीं लिया है। यह सरासर झूठ है। लद्दाख का हर व्यक्ति इस बात को जानता है कि लद्दाख की जमीन चाइना ने हिंदुस्तान से ली है और प्रधानमंत्री जी सच नहीं बोल रहे हैं। और आपका जो रोल रहा है, खासतौर से कारगिल का रोल रहा है, उसके बारे में भी मैं कहना चाहता हूं। जब भी हिंदुस्तान को आपकी जरूरत पड़ी है, जब भी बॉर्डर पे युद्ध हुआ है, तो कारगिल के लोग एक आवाज के साथ हिंदुस्तान के साथ खड़े हुए हैं। यह आपकी हिस्ट्री है। यह आपने एक बार नहीं, अनेक बार देश को दिखाया है। तो मैं इसके लिए आपको दिल से धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं और आपको आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि इस देश में कुछ महीने पहले कन्याकुमारी से हम कश्मीर तक चले थे। यात्रा को हमने भारत जोड़ो यात्रा नाम दिया था और हमारा लक्ष्य, जो बीजेपी और आरएसएस देश में नफरत और हिंसा फैला रहे हैं, उसके खिलाफ खड़ा होना, देश में भाईचारा, मोहब्बत फैलाने की हमने कोशिश की। यात्रा का मैसेज था, बहुत अच्छा नारा जो यात्रा में से निकला था, नफरत के बाजार में हम मोहब्बत की दुकान खोलने निकले हैं। जो यात्रा में से निकला था, नफरत के बाजार में हम मोहब्बत की दुकान खोलने निकले हैं। और यही आपकी सोच है। पिछले दिनों में अपनी आंखों से मुझे ये देखने को मिला, यात्रा श्रीनगर में नहीं रुकनी थी, यात्रा को लद्दाख में आना था, मगर उस समय सर्दी थी, बर्फ थी और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने हमें मना किया, कहा कि लद्दाख में नहीं जाना चाहिए। तो हमने बात मान ली थी। तो मेरे दिल में था और अभी भी है कि लद्दाख में भी हमें वो यात्रा चलानी चाहिए। शायद छोटा सा पहला कदम लिया, पैदल नहीं गए, मगर मोटरसाइकिल में मैं गया। और लद्दाख के कोने कोने में गया, लोगों से बात की, गरीब लोगों से, माताओं बहनों से, युवाओं से, और जो आपके दिल में है उसको समझने की कोशिश की।
Well, that was in fact Rahul Gandhi making a statement in Ladakh, especially trying to target the Prime Minister on the issue about China at the borders. Meanwhile, let's move on. Supreme Court has asked the Cauvery Water Disputes Tribunal, which is meeting on 28th of August, to decide the release of water for the next fortnight in Cauvery water sharing dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Now, Supreme Court says it doesn't possess any expertise on this issue and seeks a report from the Cauvery Water Management Authority. Well, the next hearing will be on the 1st of September on this matter. Well, Pankaj, an old dispute keeps coming up every time there is deficit rainfall. I was reading that there was deficit rainfall on the side of Karnataka, because of which they were actually having problems in releasing water, while Tamil Nadu says that it needs to get that 24,000 cusecs of water at any cost, and that's why it's moved the Supreme Court on this. Well, an old dispute between two southern states and still lingering on, especially when you have deficit rainfall.
Well, definitely, Varghese, this is something that, Cauvery water dispute is so old. I would say that it has now started coming in, syllabus of the kids.
Oh, yeah, I had to read that.
And, jokes apart, the issue of this water distribution is old enough, and secondly, no solution in sight tells you about how both states have stood their ground, have dragged their feet on these for years and years. There have been government changes in Tamil Nadu. We have seen DMK and
AIADMK. People have passed away fighting
People
this.
have passed away
there
fighting
are leaders
this.
on both the sides. Most of them don't even, who started the cases are not in existence anymore. They are no more.
Right. So, this is, I would say, a sad part of affairs. But when it comes to, essential commodities like water, I mean, both the states know that one patch of scarcity of water, and that vote count is gone. So, I would say it's obviously the the requirement of the population living in that part of both the states where the water distribution happens through Cauvery water. Releasing 24,000 cusecs of water to Tamil Nadu, something has been the bone of contention. But as far as both the states are concerned, I mean, we just saw recently a government change in Karnataka. Obviously, BJP going out and Congress coming in, but then these, issues again, Varghese, remain the same. It's just like as we were talking about the record keeping of whether any inch of land has been taken away by a foreign country or not. So that particular stay, even if I would say, any party comes to power, for them it becomes an issue of pride, it becomes an issue of vote, and they toe the line that the previous governments have done. They do not differ on that. And probably this is one of the reasons why this case has dragged on for so long, that now even Supreme Court says that they don't have, the capacity, expertise
to understand how to.
And again, back to the, ball is back in the court of both these states. On September 1st, the Supreme Court will hear it, but August 28th is one both the states will talk about it.
Well, interestingly enough, also, Pankaj, over here, they say that the BJP has been harping on that issue, and the reason is because you have a Congress government in Karnataka and you have a DMK government, and both are allies in I.N. I mean, India, the alliance with all the dots. So, very difficult,
Yes, I mean, if you break it down, yes.
Yeah, so, so they say that this is actually putting pressure on both the sides, because the DMK will be pressure to, get the water, and of course you have an alliance partner on the other side. So it's going to create trouble is what they are saying. But that being said, it's a very old dispute, and it rightly pointed out, been in some of the school syllabuses as well regarding this water sharing. But then again, it's always gone to the wisdom of the court, but the court itself trying to understand the technicalities around this.
Maybe, Varghese, what I think is that this particular issue hasn't also gotten its, due attention. I mean, beyond, if you look at, say, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, apart from, in peak summer seasons, this issue particularly comes up. But again, towards the winter, if I am not wrong here, correct me if I am wrong, the issue dies down. This is the pattern that I have noticed. Obviously, because the requirement is high, and again, people think about, okay, fine,
In fact, one of the arguments they have put out is saying that don't ask water in the normal monsoon year. So, as you rightly pointed out, it's when you have a really bad summer that we have this dispute coming up again. Exactly. Well, we have Tejasvi Surya from the BJP who has reacted to it. Let's, in fact, listen to that reaction.
The Chief Minister is resorting to such politicking in a matter as grave and as serious as the Cauvery water issue. Not only are lakhs of farmers in the Cauvery basin in Karnataka dependent on the water, almost 1 crore people in Bengaluru are dependent on Cauvery for drinking water purposes. The primary responsibility for ensuring parity and justice for the state before the Cauvery Water Management Authority as well as the Supreme Court lies primarily before the state government. Over the last few weeks, the state government was caught napping while Tamil Nadu moved the Cauvery Water Management Authority and got an order to release 15,000 cusecs of water. What was the state government doing then? The fact that the state government could not convince the Cauvery Water Management Authority about the ground reality, about the fact that Karnataka has received about 42% less rainfall in this water year, is an indication of the state government's failure.
Well, that was in fact Tejasvi Surya speaking about why the Karnataka government has failed to convince the authorities in the Cauvery dispute panel on the needs of Karnataka and how they have mishandled it, according to him. Well, moving on from Karnataka, let's in fact go to Manipur, where there have been crucial decisions taken when it comes to the Supreme Court on the matter. Interesting instructions have been given, Pankaj. I'm just reading some of those instructions by the Supreme Court. In fact, the Supreme Court is trying to say that a crucial role will be played by the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court in this manner. So, the Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court is to nominate one or more officers more than the rank of the JMFC and Sessions Judge to look into the cases related from Manipur. All applications for the production of accused, remand, judicial custody, extension and custody and other proceedings are to be allowed to be conducted online mode, bearing in mind that both distance and security issues at the courts which will be so designated under one or above. Now, the judicial custody shall be permitted in Manipur as well for those who have been convicted or those who require to be kept under custody. The statement of the witnesses under 164 CRPC are permitted to be recorded in the presence of the local magistrate in Manipur itself. The acting CJ or the Chief Justice of Manipur High Court shall designate one or more magistrates for above purposes. Now, the test identification parades through the video conferencing mode in presence of Manipur-based magistrate will be carried out. Applications seeking search and arrest warrant will be issued by the investigating officer or the IO by online mode. The Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court shall nominate judges who are conversant with one or more languages spoken in Manipur. Now, the SG, the Solicitor General, has in fact also said that it has ensured that a proper internet facilities shall be provided for Manipur for the video conferencing and other online mode that is required for this particular case. So clearly the Supreme Court taking a lot of interest in Manipur because there have been a batch of petitions on the violence in Manipur. The court, it doesn't want to sidestep the legislative body over there as well as the executive central body and then central government and then try to intervene in Manipur, but giving instructions so that the police carry on with the law and order processes. Here the Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court has also been roped in. He's been given powers to nominate investigation officials into this, looking into the aspects of the case as well. The CJ of the Manipur High Court has also been given his due of work to be done, and interestingly enough they've also said online mode of carrying on with the law process is also being carried out. That's of course with regards to security and the kind of distance and the situation that is prevalent that the court has taken note of it. But it looks like the process for carrying out with the investigation into the cases on the sideline has been upped by the Supreme Court with these instructions.
Definitely, Varghese. This is obviously, as they say, the law taking its own course. This is exactly what is happening as of now. And two things are pretty crucial here to take note of. First thing, that Supreme Court hasn't segregated itself from making comments on it or taking note of the situation, cognizance of the situation first. Secondly, it has not taken away the essence, not taken away the cases out of Manipur. Given the situation as of now, what prevails in Manipur, it is a precarious situation, a worrisome situation there. But Supreme Court understands the gravity and also the messaging that happens when the top court, the apex court of the country speaks with respect to violence of such nature. So, retaining it in Manipur, albeit for the safety and security of the victims, of the witnesses, it has allowed online production of witnesses, identification parades, all those things. That will happen in Manipur only via video conferencing in presence of a Manipur magistrate. Secondly, the Chief Justice of Manipur High Court also has been asked to oversee all the proceedings. Secondly, when it comes to putting balms, I would say, on those who have been affected, Supreme Court has not actually taken all the rights away from them in a way that whatever their point of view is can be and has to be safely put. And the judges, Varghese, especially those who would be presiding over these cases, be it online or offline mode, they have to be, Supreme Court has said that they have to be those who understand more than one language in Manipur. Yeah. So, this is, I think, one of the crucial aspects of hearing the correct version, not getting lost in translation, the intensity, the gravity with which the wounds were inflicted.
Well, when we talk about Manipur, we still see how the precarious situation is. They were talking about starting the session on August 29th. We had been coming and saying that May 3rd was a conspiracy. We did not agree to that High Court ruling on whether Metis should be put into the scheduled tribes list, and because there are 34 tribes in Manipur, all that was being said. But even now, it looks like the court is the only organ that is trying to ensure that some process or semblance of law and order is there being carried out, and to the point that some of those issues regarding Manipur's law and order breakdown, we see that the Guwahati, that is to say from the neighboring state of Assam, the Chief Justice had to also be roped in to look into what's happening in Manipur.
Yes, I mean, this is, politicking, I would say, at its best as of now, unfortunately. But as the, system would have it, Biren Singh, the Chief Minister, is in Delhi. He paid a visit to Delhi. And now what we are hearing is that he's squarely blaming Rahul Gandhi and Congress for all the debacle that has happened is something that comes as a shocker to many. But I would rather say that, beyond politics as of now, it's time to find a lasting solution for this violent streak that has plagued Manipur. And as far as the restoration of the assembly session is concerned, that August 29 should be done without any further delay. And that would somehow instill the faith of the people in democracy, in their chosen representatives, and what they actually do and how do they present themselves. So whether that divide is seen in those lines also or not, within the government, outside the government, all those things should come to the fore.
Well, also, let's now in fact move on to Uttar Pradesh. Very big news coming in from Uttar Pradesh. Former Uttar Pradesh Minister Amarmani Tripathi, who was convicted in a murder case, is set to regain his freedom following relief granted by the Supreme Court. Today, he will walk free as scheduled after the Supreme Court declined to halt the execution of the state government's decision to grant him an early release. Now, Amarmani Tripathi, along with his wife, who is also being released, had spent 16 years behind bars for their involvement in the 2007 murder of poet Madhumita Shukla. Their release is being sanctioned based on their demonstrated good conduct during their imprisonment. According to the order issued by the Uttar Pradesh government, the Supreme Court's ruling has handed down during the hearing of a petition initiated by Madhumita Shukla's sister. In a plea, Nidhi Tripathi, the victim's sibling, argued that Amarmani Tripathi holds significant influence within the eastern region of Uttar Pradesh. Well, this is a huge sensational case, isn't it, Pankaj,
right.
When we are looking at it. But then the release of a person who was, convicted for being involved in the murder of the poetess, a lot of scandal associated with that. And I remember that this was one topic that was there in all the Hindi channels and English channels during that time. Everyone focusing on this because this was a case that had all the dramatics in it, and then the political life that Mr. Tripathi had in fact led, it came crashing down because he was a minister in the Mayawati government as well. So a big politician being involved with that murder, it was the primetime news then. But then after almost 16 to 17 years, you have Mr. Tripathi hogging the limelights again.
Well, yes, also for not good reason, I would say, staying in the limelight. And you're right, 2003 was this crime was committed, and in the subsequent years, they stayed in the public memory for a very, very long time. And yes, media at that particular point of time, not several publications or television news channels were there at that time. But yes, all of them had been covering this event for a quite long time. There were two reasons why this episode actually, had gained momentum. First one, obviously, the Mayawati government and, the rustic ways of BSP ministers at times, being treated the public, and the kind of clout they would have. That was the time when, if you look at the TV series or OTT series that are being made roughly based on Uttar Pradesh, reflecting of those times, say 10 to 15 years beyond. That was the time, कि हमारे चाचा विधायक हैं, तुम हमको नहीं जानते हो. That was the time of that era. In this era, obviously things have changed a lot because of social media. You don't need a press everywhere. You have your mobile phone, so people are at times wary of what they are saying in public. But that was the time when people actually used to flaunt it, their power, their clout, rasukh जिसको कहते हैं. So at that time, Amarmani Tripathi, was a powerful name, in the echelons of Uttar Pradesh, and this particular incident happened. So, politician embroiled in any sort of controversy, especially involving death or murder, immediately qualifies for headlines. Secondly, it was also coming, this particular incident was coming on the back of another incident which had shocked, the conscience of the country, and that was the Naina Sani Hatyakand. The Tandoor case. So that was there. Jessica Lal happened much later, but these incidents, obviously, where the victim was a woman, that was the time when media also used to harp on these topics and bring about and question those responsible, and hence this kind of headlines were being made, and the impact was such that 16, 17 years down the line, we still
remember that case. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing it in a regional channel. In fact, someone had made a half an hour on a crime story, and that's how this stuck with me also for a long. Anyway, we have responses coming in from the sister of Madhumita, as well as another responses also there. Let's listen into the responses on this.
अगर मेरी या मेरे परिवार की हत्या हो जाएगी, 8 हफ्ते का बहुत होते हैं सर, 8 हफ्ते बहुत होते हैं। अमरमणि जैसे क्रिमिनल के लिए वो सब कुछ मैनेज कर सकता है। कृपया रोक लगा दीजिए, रिहाई पे रोक लगवा दीजिए, गवर्नर साहिबा रोक लगा दीजिए, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री रोक लगा दीजिए उस पे।
आगे आपका क्या कदम होगा? आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने नोटिस जारी कर दिया है, आगे आपकी कहाँ उम्मीदें टिकी हैं? क्या आप गवर्नर के पास फिर से जाएंगी उम्मीद लेकर?
हाँ, गवर्नर साहब के पास जाएंगे और पहले भी हमने चिट्ठियों द्वारा उनको सारी सूचना भी दी है। 1 महीने से दे रहे हैं, कम से कम 6 या 7 चिट्ठी गवर्नर साहब को सारे सबूत के साथ दे चुके हैं। जो आरटीआई से सरकारी कागज है जो है बताते हैं कि अमरमणि जेल गया ही नहीं। फिर हम जाएंगे, लेकिन अब देखिए क्या होता है। 8 हफ्ते तो बड़ा तलवार की धार पे जीना है हमको, क्योंकि अमरमणि ऐसा मास्टरमाइंड है जो सब कुछ मैनेज कर सकता है। अगर आपको महामहिम गवर्नर साहिबा, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री, अगर आपको इंसाफ करना है, मधुमिता केस में इंसाफ करना है, तो अमरमणि मधुमणि के प्रति निष्ठा नहीं बल्कि ऐसे हत्यारों की सजा पर रिहाई पर रोक लगा दीजिए।
हमारा यही कहना है कि चूंकि अमरमणि त्रिपाठी और मधुमणि त्रिपाठी उच्च न्यायालय उत्तराखंड के द्वारा गठित समिति के आधार पर 62% जेल अवधि बाहर उन्होंने काटी, जेल में रहे ही नहीं, और इन्हीं सब जो राज्य सरकार ने अनियमितता की है उसके विरुद्ध निधि उच्चतम न्यायालय में अपनी याचिका दायर कर चुकी है। आज 25 अगस्त को सुबह 11 बजे उनकी सुनवाई है अमरमणि मधुमणि की सजा के संदर्भ में ही, और उसके पूर्व रातों रात इस तरह जो ये हम खबर सुन रहे हैं, इसमें राज्यपाल महोदया को हम लोग अपना ईमेल तो बराबर भेजते ही रहे हैं, सारी सब चीज़ें भेजते रहे, और आज अपना पत्र भी उनको हम डीएम लखीमपुर के द्वारा भेजेंगे कि ये अगर इस तरह की कार्रवाई कुछ हो जाती है, जो कि माननीय जयंती पटेल जी को जो हमारी राज्यपाल हैं उनको उनके संज्ञान में सारी बातें लाई नहीं गई हैं, और उनके इसीलिए निधि बहुत उदास है। आज वो अपनी सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो है तारीख निपटा लेती है। अगर उसको इंसाफ, उसको 20 वर्षों की घनघोर परिश्रम के बाद जो उसको इंसाफ मिला, अगर उसकी इस तरह राजनीतिक हत्या की जाती है, तो उसने कहा है कि वो राजभवन के सामने अपना जीवन समाप्त कर लेगी, क्योंकि अगर 20 सालों में भी इंसाफ नहीं मिला इस हिंदुस्तान में, तो ऐसे देश में एक पीड़ित की बहन का जीवित रहना ही बेकार है।
Well, that's all that we have in our top stories of this hour that we were in fact tracking. More developments will be there as the day continues. But on the other side, there are a lot from News 9 to look forward to. We end this discussion on top stories with Pankaj right here. Thank you, Pankaj, for in fact joining us. And of course, on the other side, keep tuned to News 9 and watch for the latest from the news world.
With all this gear, you must be wondering if I'm climbing a mountain. Well, let me give you a wider look of this place. This is Asia's largest mountain of shame.